They turned the football over, guys. Why do we not want to accept the fact that he turned the ball over? Understand this, you can't turn the ball over in games like this. It's okay to criticize Lamar Jackson. I think you guys have a hard time criticizing him and saying, hey, you're the MVP. You were the best player on the field yesterday, but you still made mistakes.
Okay, so Dan, you were here yesterday with me, and let's not get sidetracked into whether we have a hard time criticizing him or not, because that's a whole different discussion. I agree with you. We were having no trouble doing it if it was worth doing. Yeah. The question is, and I'll start with you. You love the Ravens. I know your son was devastated by the loss of the Ravens. How much blame is reasonable to place at the feet of the quarterback for what happened on Sunday?
I mean, he definitely deserves some of the blame. I don't know how we break it up percentage-wise, but the first half was tough, and he took a bunch of the blame. The fact of the matter is Lamar Jackson is on a Hall of Fame trajectory, and players like that are going to be judged by their postseason accomplishments. Yeah. And so whether we put any blame on him or not, doesn't really matter. His career is going to be defined by this. So 20 years from now, 100 years from now, we're going to still be talking about Lamar Jackson, and he's going to get all the blame. No one's going to break down in this game like, Mark Andrews should have done this, Mark Andrews should have done that. 100 years from now, 20 years from now, we're going to be like, Lamar Jackson has this many Super Bowls. And so whether it's blame or responsibility, none of it matters. It's going to fall on the quarterback. That's how it goes. And so I agree with Booger. He deserves some blame for those turnovers, but frankly, he's going to carry it. And I think that might be part of the reason why people are hesitant and want to dissect the game now, because it feels kind of boring to be like, hey, this is all the quarterback's fault. That's how it ends up. Those are the names that we remember, and those are the guys who have to carry the responsibility.
Kev?
I totally agree. I think what Nick is saying is true. You as the quarterback, you get the MVP because the ball is in your hand all the time. Well, guess what? You drop it, you throw a pick, whoever's fault it is, whether it's the wrong route, whether it's a drop, you carry that. So if you're going to get the $50 million a year and get all the accolades and get all those things, you got to get the criticism as well. Do I lay all of it at the feet of Lamar Jackson? Absolutely not. But he'll carry his fair share. Again, if you look at this, I'll tell you this about this game, because I have one of these in my life. This will haunt that team forever. But this is the New Orleans Saints Super Bowl for us. You beat them in every phase of the game and you still lose. It's devastating, right? Because the turnovers matter. And Booger said it best. I don't care how good you do all the other things. You don't protect the football in big games, you lose those games. That's just how it works in the NFL. And it's a sad state, but it's where it is.
It was a game you had to play from ahead, on the road, against a team that is not making any mistakes right now.
Yep.
Right? The Ravens turned the ball over 11 times in the regular season. There are only 2 teams that turned it over fewer times, and one of them was Buffalo.
That's right.
So you couldn't turn it over. And here's a guy that threw 4 interceptions all year, and we've heard the case made that none of the 4 were his fault, and that holds up. But now, and these 2 were. and they happened at a critical time in the game when, maybe not the interception, maybe the receiver slowed down. But Lamar owned it afterwards, and the fumble was obviously just recklessness. But the fact of the matter is that did it. Yes, he almost brought them back. Yes, they could have tied the game at the end, but the hole was created, at least in part, by his mistakes. And they're the kind of mistakes that we don't see him make in a regular season. Right. So it's completely fair to say about this player, this wonderful player, this all-time great player, why isn't he the same guy in the postseason as he is in the regular season? That's a fair question at this point in his career.
Yeah, so before we get to tape, you played with a guy that earned the right to only get judged by how he does in January and February. It's a small group. Sure. Lamar has earned the right, the burden, to be in that group. The second thing is, we can be critical of him without celebrating his failure. Candidly, it's tough to just dunk on him because he's dying inside over it as well. Lamar has literally said to me in his words, I have to win a Super Bowl. It's the only thing left for me. In regards to the turnovers, this is why the context of how they happen matters more than the stat line or the box score of it. The interception, this is why the team game part of this is such a big deal. One, and this is not to kill any other player, but I'd say, Derek, you can make a better block because Milano beats you. That forces the decision to happen faster for the quarterback. He's judging, does he go high or flat on the route? He throws it high. It's not a great throw. Does it become an interception if the block's made better? Probably not. And then this is the fumble. I would love to see on this RPO a better snap, because if it's a better snap,
Right.
The back's probably hitting his head on the goalpost. Now you, yes, want Lamar to not give the ball away. Dom, we were just talking about it. We've seen Lamar do that against the Bengals twice this year against the Giants, where he makes absolutely something out of nothing. So they matter, yes, but it's not like Lamar just took the ball and made something stupid happen by himself.
Okay, I'm going to do something here. Our producer is Eric. Eric, I'm going to pause on this thought. We have to stay with this. So whatever it is we were planning on doing next, we're not doing it because I have not yet gotten a chance to tell you why we have not yet said the most important thing that needs to be said about Lamar Jackson in this context before we go any farther. So we'll do that coming up.
Graziano already getting his face ready, and Jeff Saturday ready to go. All right, so let's start in the NFC. The Eagles need a lot more from their passing game to beat Washington. Dan, is this an overreaction or not an overreaction?
It's not an overreaction. I don't know how they're going to keep getting away with this unless Saquon Barkley's just going to rush for multiple 70-yard touchdowns every game, which he's not going to do because the Rams have been eliminated. Washington is going to put points on the board. They are not scared. They have an offense that's operating at a high level. They have a quarterback who's a rookie but doesn't play like one. The Eagles may need to win a shootout on Sunday against Washington, and they have yet to prove that they're capable of doing that. If Washington can find some way to limit their run game, I think the Eagles are going to have to get outside their comfort zone on Sunday if they want to win.
This is a massive overreaction. Massive. You have got to be kidding. If I keep hearing about, hey, how many yards did Josh Allen have this weekend? Was it, 127? Did they find a way to win in advance? Teams find a way to advance. And you said it's much easier said than done to go stop Saquon Barkley, who had another 200-yard rushing performance again. And by the way, when it mattered, Hurts did hit A.J. Brown on the 11-yard game. He did have a 44-yard carry. There's a lot of things that he adds to the offense. You don't have to have, if explosive plays are coming from your run game, you don't have to have them in the passing game, Dan. I'm not sure what's confusing about that.
Well, what happens if they stop coming from the run game? Like, what if Jalen Hurts doesn't run for 44 yards for a touchdown one of these days? What if they run into a team that can
There's
tackle?
a lot of whats. There's a lot of what's. And listen, that's what every team goes through, Dan. If somebody stops your passing game, you got to run it, and vice versa. It's football. Come on.
I knew if I said you had to throw the ball, Jeff would say it's an overreaction. That's all I know.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's not like the Commanders have the most amazing run defense, but still, we'll find this out. But guys, I got to ask you this, though. None of these other games matter because the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl again. Dan, overreaction or not an overreaction?
It's not an overreaction. Who is better at winning these games than the Kansas City Chiefs? Like, they got the bye. They are healthy. I just feel like we know how this movie ends. Buffalo can beat them, sure. And someone from I don't know if the NFC team can beat them if they get to the Super Bowl, but you just have this feeling that Patrick Mahomes is going to do whatever it takes. This Chiefs team is playing better than it has all year. It's healthier than it's been all year. And I think there's a possibility that we're looking at something inevitable here.
Listen, I love this story as much as anybody. The three-peat of the Super Bowl is insanely good. But they got some work to do. The Bills are a good team that's beat them earlier in the season and plays well. I still think in the NFC, you got one of the hottest